Tonight we journey back, far back, to a time when the world was a colder, harsher place. And the very air you breathe now feels thick with the scent of wood, smoke, and damp earth. Imagine yourself bundled in rough woolens, the wind whipping around the eaves of a longhouse, a perpetual chill seeping into your bones. You're not just listening, you're there, feeling the biting Scandinavian air, smelling the tang of the sea even miles inland, a constant reminder of the ocean's vast, untamed power. This isn't some sanitized theme park. This is the real deal, where a misstep could mean a frozen limb or a lost meal. You probably wouldn't survive a week, let alone thrive. But tonight, from the comfort of your own warm bed, you get to experience it all without the frostbite. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop a comment below telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The rain lashes against the timber walls of your longhouse, a drumming rhythm that has become the soundtrack to your days. Outside, the world is a swirling canvas of grey and brown, the sky heavy and unyielding. You stand by the central hearth, the smoke curling lazily upwards through the roof vent, warming your face. The air is thick with the scent of burning wood and damp wool, and perhaps a faint, lingering aroma of last night's stew. It's a day for staying indoors, a day for the kind of work that doesn't require bracing against a blizzard or fending off a rival clan. You glance around the bustling interior. Children, their energy seemingly boundless despite the confinement, chase each other amongst the sleeping platforms, their laughter echoing against the rough-hewn beams. A group of older women sit by a window opening, their fingers nimbly working flax into thread, their voices a low murmur of gossip and song. You notice the rhythmic thud of a loom in the corner, where someone is painstakingly weaving a new piece of cloth, the colors earthy and muted. Rainy days, you've quickly learned, are not days of idleness for the Vikings. Oh no. If anything, they are days of intense, focused activity. You watch as a man, his hands gnarled and strong, sharpens his axe by the fire, the swing of the whetstone a hypnotic sound. He tests the edge with his thumb, a slight frown on his brow, clearly aiming for a cut so precise it could shave a fly's eyebrow. Another is meticulously repairing a fishing net, his fingers moving with surprising dexterity as he mends the torn sections. You think about the sheer amount of skill involved in everyday life here. No factory-made tools, no quick repairs at the hardware store. Everything is crafted, maintained, and often repurposed by hand. It makes you appreciate the sturdy simplicity of their existence, even as you mentally catalogue all the modern conveniences you'd sorely miss, like central heating, or, not having to worry about an axe-wielding neighbor accidentally shaving your eyebrow. You wander over to where a group of men are huddled around a wooden board, their faces intent. They're playing Efetoffel, a strategic board game often referred to as Viking chess. It's a game of wits and cunning, a miniature battlefield played out with wooden pieces. One player, the king, starts in the center surrounded by his defenders, while the attackers try to capture him. The discussions around the board are animated, full of good-natured taunts and triumphant shouts. You find yourself drawn into the intricacies of the game, even if you don't fully understand all the rules yet. It's not just a game. It's a way to hone strategic thinking, a mental exercise for minds accustomed to planning raids and navigating treacherous seas. Historians still argue about the exact rules of Efetoffel, as no definitive rulebook from the Viking Age has survived. Modern versions are based on archaeological finds and educated guesses, meaning every game is a little bit of a historical reconstruction. It's a delightful mystery. like trying to bake a cake from a recipe, where half the ingredients are listed as a pinch of something nice and enough of that other stuff. You step closer, observing the intense concentration on their faces. One of the players, a burly man with a neatly trimmed beard, slams down a piece with a triumphant grin. "Ha! Got you, you old goat!" he bellows, and the others groan good-naturedly, even in their leisure. There's a competitive spirit, a zest for life that permeates everything they do. You notice how the firelight dances on their faces, casting long, shifting shadows across the longhouse interior. The air feels cozier now, less oppressive than the grey world outside. You start to understand that these indoor days are just as vital as the days of sailing and raiding. They are the days of mending, of creating, of learning, and of simply being together. The women, meanwhile, are not just spinning and weaving. You see one meticulously grinding grain into flour with a hand quern, a slow, arduous process that makes you grateful for modern bakeries. Another is preparing herbs, sorting them into small bundles, their pungent aromas filling a corner of the longhouse. Medicinal knowledge was crucial in a world without doctors or pharmacies, and much of it was passed down through generations of women. You realize how interconnected their lives are, how every task, no matter how small, contributes to the survival and well-being of the entire community. It's a stark contrast to the often isolated lives people lead today. Here, everyone has a role, everyone contributes, and there's a deep, unspoken understanding of their reliance on one another. It's a bit like a highly efficient, very loud, and occasionally axe-wielding co-op. You watch a young boy, no older than 7 or 8, carefully carving a small wooden animal. His tongue sticks out in concentration, and his brow is furrowed with effort. He's learning a skill that will serve him throughout his life, whether it's crafting tools, repairing equipment, or creating beautiful objects. Woodworking was a fundamental skill, and even the simplest household items were often works of art. You see intricate patterns carved into bed frames, decorative motifs on chests, and even the handles of tools. This wasn't just about functionality. It was about beauty, about imbuing everyday objects with meaning and artistry. The smell of damp earth and wood smoke clings to your clothes, a subtle reminder of the raw elements just beyond the longhouse walls. You feel a strange sense of peace settling over you, a calm born of the simple, rhythmic activities unfolding around you. There's no rush, no frantic pace, just the steady, purposeful movements of people engaged in their tasks. You see a man mending a leather tunic, his needle flashing in the firelight. He's stitching with thick sinew, creating repairs that are not just functional, but also incredibly strong. Viking clothing, while practical, was often adorned with embroidery or appliques, reflecting a surprising attention to detail for people often stereotyped as purely brutish warriors. They liked their clothes to be tough, but also to look good. Like a battle-ready fashion show, you notice a group gathered around an older man, his voice a low rumble as he recounts a saga. Stories were the lifeblood of their culture, a way to pass down history, mythology, and moral lessons. These weren't just bedtime stories. They were epic tales of gods, heroes, and fearsome beasts, often recited from memory, spanning hours or even days. Imagine listening to an audiobook that lasts for a week, and the narrator is right there in front of you, occasionally pausing for dramatic effect and a sip of mead. The listeners are enthralled, their eyes fixed on the storyteller, their expressions shifting with every twist and turn of the narrative. You can almost feel the presence of Odin and Thor in the very air, their exploits as real as the rain outside. The fire crackles, sending sparks dancing upwards, and the air grows warmer, more comfortable. The sounds of the longhouse are a soothing symphony, the hum of the loom, the low murmur of voices, the occasional clink of metal, and the steady drumming of rain. You find yourself leaning against a sturdy wooden pillar, feeling the ancient timber beneath your hand. It's been here for generations, sheltering countless families from the harsh Nordic elements. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sounds wash over you, feeling the gentle sway of sleep begin to pull at your eyelids. The world outside the longhouse, with its storms and challenges, feels far away, replaced by the comforting cocoon of warmth and human endeavor. You're safe, for now, in the heart of this ancient, bustling home. The rhythm of life here, even on a rainy day, is a lullaby, inviting you to drift deeper into the past. As the faint glow of the hearth fire casts dancing shadows on the rough-hewn walls, you become acutely aware of the subtle shift in the longhouse's energy. The boisterous games of Hafetafel have subsided, replaced by quieter conversations and the rhythmic, almost meditative sounds of domestic tasks. You find yourself drawn towards a corner where an elder woman sits, her hands deftly working with wool. She's not just spinning, she's preparing the raw fleece, picking out burrs and bits of straw, her movements precise and practiced. The smell of lanolin, a slightly earthy, waxy scent, wafts gently towards you. It's a smell of warmth, of sustenance, of the very fabric of their lives. You realize that every single item of clothing worn by the inhabitants of this longhouse, from the thick cloaks to the inner tunics, was created by hand from scratch. There were no shortcuts, no ready-made fabrics from distant lands, at least not for everyday wear. The process of turning raw wool into wearable cloth was incredibly labor-intensive, involving cleaning, carding, spinning, and then weaving. It's a testament to their resilience and ingenuity that they produced such high-quality textiles. One could say they were the original slow fashion movement, though perhaps without the artisanal coffee shops. You lean closer, observing her gnarled fingers. She hums a low, tuneless melody as she works, a sound as ancient as the hills. This act of creation, of transforming raw materials into something useful and beautiful, is a central pillar of their daily existence, especially on days when the elements forbid outdoor work. You see a pile of dyed wool beside her, the colors extracted from natural sources like madder root for reds, woad for blues, and various plants and lichens for greens and yellows. Imagine foraging for your dye bath ingredients, hoping you pick the right leaves and berries, and then hoping the color actually sticks. It certainly makes you appreciate modern synthetic dyes. Historians still debate the precise methods and prevalence of certain dyeing techniques in the Viking Age. While archaeological evidence gives us clues, the ephemeral nature of organic dyes means much of the specific knowledge has been lost to time. It's like trying to figure out your great-great-grandmother's secret cookie recipe just by looking at a faint smudge on an old cookbook page. A young girl, perhaps 5 or 6, sits beside the elder, carefully trying to imitate her movements with a small handful of wool. Her tiny fingers are clumsy, but her eyes are bright with concentration. This is how knowledge is passed down, not through textbooks or formal schooling, but through direct observation, imitation, and endless practice. You see the patience in the elder's eyes, the gentle guidance she offers without a word. It's a stark contrast to the structured, classroom-based learning you're accustomed to. Here, education is woven into the very fabric of daily life, a continuous, hands-on apprenticeship in survival and craftsmanship. The steady rhythm of the rain outside continues, a soft, insistent drumming that lulls you further into this ancient world. You notice the subtle sounds within the longhouse, the crackle of the fire, the soft scuff of someone shifting on a straw mattress, the distant snore of a slumbering warrior who's clearly had a very busy raiding season. It's a comforting symphony of domesticity, a stark contrast to the usual image of Vikings as bloodthirsty raiders. On days like this, they are farmers, artisans, storytellers, and parents. They are, in essence, people just like you, trying to make the best of their circumstances. You feel a warmth emanating from the central hearth, the heart of the longhouse, where a large pot simmers gently. The aroma of something savory and hearty begins to fill the air, a blend of root vegetables, perhaps some dried fish and herbs. Food preparation was another crucial indoor activity, especially when fresh supplies were scarce. On rainy days, the women would often be engaged in preserving food, drying fish or meat, fermenting vegetables or grinding grains for future use. No freezers or refrigerators here, just ingenuity and a deep understanding of natural preservation methods. You can almost taste the rich, earthy flavors, a wholesome contrast to the often meager rations they faced on long voyages. You see a group of men gathered near the entrance, checking and rechecking their weaponry. They are meticulously inspecting sword blades for rust, oiling leather straps on shields, and tightening axe heads. Even on a rainy day, preparedness is paramount. A dull blade or a weak shield could mean the difference between life and death on the next raid or skirmish. They take immense pride in their weapons, treating them not just as tools, but as extensions of themselves. Each dent and scratch tells a story, a testament to battles fought and victories won. You wouldn't want to show up to a Viking battle with a sword that wobbles. That's just asking for trouble, and probably a very embarrassing defeat. One of the men, a younger fellow with a serious expression, is carefully honing a spearhead. You notice the intense focus in his eyes, the almost ritualistic movements as he works the stone against the metal. It's a skill passed down through generations, a vital part of their warrior culture. But it's not just about warfare. These are also the tools for hunting, for protection against wild animals, and for felling trees. Their very survival depended on their ability to craft and maintain effective tools. You drift towards the quieter sleeping platforms that line the walls. Here, some of the older children are engaged in lessons. Not formal lessons, but more like practical training. A boy, perhaps 10 years old, is learning to tie intricate knots under the watchful eye of an older man. These are the knots that will secure sails, moor longships, and hold together the very structures of their lives. It's a skill that requires patience and precision, and you can see the frustration on the boy's face when his fingers fumble, but the elder's calm encouragement keeps him going. Meanwhile, a girl of a similar age is practicing her weaving, her small hands moving slowly but deliberately. You appreciate the way both boys and girls are taught essential skills from a young age, without the rigid gender divisions that often characterize later historical periods. Everyone contributes, and everyone learns what they need to survive and thrive. It's a pragmatic approach to education, driven by necessity. The flickering firelight makes the longhouse feel warm and inviting, a sanctuary from the relentless rain. You feel the simple comfort of being indoors, surrounded by the quiet industry of daily life. The air is still, save for the occasional soft creak of the timber or the gentle breathing of someone sleeping nearby. There's a profound sense of community here, a shared existence where everyone plays a part. You realize that even in a world so different from your own, the fundamental human need for shelter, warmth, and connection remains constant. You find yourself drifting, the rhythmic sounds of the longhouse acting like a soothing balm. Your eyelids grow heavy, and the figures around you begin to blur, dissolving into the comforting shadows of the past. The gentle hum of ancient life guides you deeper into slumber. The morning light, diffused and gentle, filters through the smoke vent, painting the longhouse interior in soft, muted tones. You stir, feeling the satisfying ache of a night spent in deep slumber on a straw mattress, a sensation surprisingly comfortable despite its rustic simplicity. The scent of wood smoke is still present, but now it mingles with the fresh smell of brewing herbal tea and something undeniably meaty. Breakfast, you realize, is already underway. People are moving about with a quiet purpose, their voices hushed, a stark contrast to the bustling activity of the previous rainy day. You notice a group gathered around the central hearth, their bowls clinking softly as they scoop out portions of a thick, nourishing porridge, perhaps made with oats or barley, supplemented with dried berries and bits of rendered animal fat. It's a simple, high-energy meal, designed to fuel a day of hard work, whether that work involves farming, crafting, or indeed raiding. You mentally compare it to your usual breakfast, realizing that while it lacks a latte, it certainly packs a punch. You watch as a young woman carefully tends the fire, adding small pieces of wood to keep the flames dancing. Fire was not just for warmth. It was central to all aspects of life: cooking, light, and even some crafting processes. Maintaining it was a constant, essential chore. Without matches or lighters, starting a fire was a significant undertaking, often involving a fire steel and flint or a hand drill. Imagine the frustration of trying to light a fire on a damp, chilly morning when your hands are numb. It makes you grateful for the instantaneous warmth of your own home. You notice a man meticulously sharpening a woodworking tool, his brow furrowed in concentration. Wood was the backbone of Viking life for houses, ships' tools, and countless other objects. On days when the weather permitted, the surrounding forests would be a hub of activity, felling trees, splitting logs, and preparing timber for construction or crafts. But on an indoor day, the focus shifted to the finer details, the shaping and carving that turned raw wood into functional and beautiful items. From a simple wooden bowl to the intricate dragon heads adorning a longship, every piece told a story of skilled hands and painstaking effort. Historians still debate the extent of specialization among Viking artisans. Were there dedicated master carvers, or did most Vikings possess a broad range of crafting skills? It's a puzzle, like trying to figure out if your neighbor is just good at DIY, or secretly a master carpenter moonlighting as an accountant. You recall a tidbit you once heard: some archaeologists believe that certain types of intricate wood carving, particularly on ships, were so complex they must have been done by highly specialized individuals, almost like engineers of their time. This wasn't just whittling, it was precision artistry, requiring a deep understanding of both aesthetics and structural integrity. It makes you realize that while they were known for their brawn, their brains were equally formidable. The quiet murmurs of conversation fill the longhouse, a mix of plans for the day, light-hearted jokes, and perhaps a bit of grumbling about the persistent dampness. You hear a snippet of a conversation about the best way to mend a sail, and another about the upcoming fishing season. Life here is intimately connected to the cycles of nature, the availability of resources, and the ever-present demands of the sea. There's a palpable sense of pragmatism, a focus on what needs to be done to ensure survival and prosperity. No time for existential dread when you have to ensure your roof doesn't leak. You watch a woman carefully prepare herbs for medicine. She sorts them into small bundles, her movements precise and deliberate. Knowledge of local flora and its medicinal properties was vital. Fevers, infections, broken bones all had to be treated with what was available, often relying on centuries of accumulated wisdom passed down orally. You imagine the responsibility, the quiet pressure of knowing that someone's life might depend on your ability to identify the correct plant and prepare it properly. It's a far cry from a quick trip to the pharmacy. A group of younger children huddle together, whispering and giggling. One of them holds a small, crudely carved wooden toy. Play, even in this demanding world, was an essential part of childhood. It wasn't just for fun, it was how they learned, how they developed motor skills, and how they understood the social dynamics of their community. You remember a study that suggested Viking children had a surprising array of toys, from miniature longships to animal figures. Even in a tough environment, childhood wasn't entirely devoid of joy and imagination. You find yourself drawn to the warmth of the fire, the heat radiating outwards, chasing away the last vestiges of morning chill. The sounds of the longhouse are a gentle hum now, a symphony of quiet industry and communal living. There's a comforting rhythm to their days, a predictable flow of activity that brings a sense of stability even in an unpredictable world. You feel a deep connection to this moment, a quiet appreciation for the resilience and resourcefulness of these people. They faced challenges you can barely imagine, yet they built, they created, they celebrated, and they survived. The light outside is beginning to brighten, suggesting the rain might finally be easing. But inside, the longhouse remains a sanctuary, a haven of warmth and human connection. You lean back against the rough wall, feeling the textures of the ancient wood. The air is still, filled with the lingering scents of breakfast and wood smoke. Your eyes grow heavy once more, and the soft sounds of the longhouse begin to blend into a gentle, soothing drone. You feel utterly safe, surrounded by the echoes of a past life, drifting deeper into a peaceful slumber. The world of the Vikings, with its quiet strength and industrious spirit, lulls you to rest. The rain has indeed subsided, leaving the world outside shimmering with a fresh, clean scent. Yet, the air within the longhouse retains its comforting warmth, a lingering embrace from the earlier downpour. You notice a change in the light, a brighter, clearer quality that signals the promise of a more active day. Still, the indoor tasks continue, adapted now to the improved visibility and the subtle shift in mood. The children, perhaps sensing the potential for outdoor play later, are a little less rambunctious, their attention now focused on more intricate games or quiet lessons. You observe a woman meticulously braiding hair, not just for aesthetics but for practicality. Long hair, if not managed, could be a hindrance in daily tasks or in battle. Braids were a common, effective way to keep hair tidy and out of the way. You remember seeing depictions of Viking women with incredibly elaborate hairstyles, sometimes incorporating ribbons or even silver rings. It wasn't just about survival. There was a definite sense of personal adornment and style, even in this rugged world. They might not have had hair gel, but they certainly knew how to make a statement. You also noticed the attention paid to personal hygiene. While not as elaborate as Roman baths, Vikings were known to be remarkably clean for their era, often having weekly baths. They used lye soap, combs made of bone or antler, and even ear spoons. It contradicts the often grimy stereotype, proving that even fierce warriors appreciated a good scrub. You can almost smell the faint scent of wood ash soap, a clean, earthy aroma that mixes with the lingering scent of breakfast. Historians still debate the exact frequency and rituals of Viking bathing, while sagas and archaeological finds suggest regular washing. The practicalities of heating large amounts of water in a cold climate mean it might have been a communal event rather than a daily indulgence. It's a bit like trying to figure out how often your ancestors did laundry without the benefit of a washing machine. You see a group of older boys practicing their throwing skills, not with axes or spears, not yet, but with small, weighted wooden targets. They're honing their aim, their coordination, and their strength. It's a crucial part of their training, preparing them for the day they will wield real weapons, whether for hunting or for warfare. You hear the soft thud of the wooden targets as they hit the wall, a repetitive sound that speaks of disciplined practice. There's a serious air to their play, an understanding that these games are not just for fun but for survival. Meanwhile, some of the men are gathered around a collection of tools, discussing repairs and improvements. You see them inspecting axe handles for cracks, checking the rivets on shield bosses, and even discussing the best type of wood for a new ship's mast. Their conversation is technical, filled with specific terms for different parts of a longship or various types of timber. It's a reminder of their incredible practical knowledge, their deep understanding of materials and construction. They were master craftsmen, capable of building ships that traversed oceans and houses that stood for generations. You recall a curious fact. Some Viking longships were so meticulously crafted that they could be fully dismantled and reassembled, almost like a massive, ancient Lego set. This allowed them to be carried overland between fords or rivers, a remarkable feat of engineering and teamwork. It makes you wonder what kind of instruction manual they used, or if it was just passed down through a very stressful oral tradition. The longhouse continues to be a hub of quiet industry. A woman sits by the fire, carefully weaving a fishnet. Her fingers move with incredible speed and precision, tying knot after knot. Fishing was a cornerstone of their diet, providing essential protein, especially during the long winters. A well-made net was invaluable, and its creation was a skilled task. You imagine the hours spent on this one item, and the relief it must bring when a net is finally finished and ready for the water. You hear the faint, rhythmic clink-clink of a hammer from a small, enclosed area within the longhouse, perhaps a small forge or a dedicated crafting space. Someone is working with metal, likely shaping tools or repairing iron fittings. Metalworking was another highly prized skill, often practiced by specialized smiths. The ability to work iron into strong, durable tools and weapons was a hallmark of their technological prowess. The faint smell of hot metal and charcoal drifts towards you, a pungent, earthy scent that speaks of transformation and strength. As the sun climbs higher, even if still veiled by clouds, the atmosphere inside the longhouse remains one of focused calm. The sounds are softer, more individual now. A gentle strumming of a lyre or a bone flute might occasionally break the quiet, as someone takes a moment for a brief musical interlude. Music, storytelling, and poetry were integral to Viking culture, providing entertainment, preserving history, and reinforcing community bonds. Even on a workday, there was always room for art. You feel the slight chill of the air near the outside walls, a reminder of the raw elements always just beyond the human-made warmth. But here, within the embrace of the longhouse, you are protected. The simple presence of other people, going about their lives, creates a profound sense of security and belonging. There's no isolation, no feeling of being alone against the world. Every task, every skill, every story contributes to the collective well-being. It's a powerful lesson in community resilience. Your eyes begin to feel heavy once more, despite the brightening light. The gentle hum of voices, the soft clinking of tools, the rhythmic breathing of those around you, it all blends into a soothing melody. You drift comfortable and secure, allowing the ancient rhythms of the longhouse to carry you deeper into a peaceful, dreaming state. The Viking world, in all its industrious quietude, is a gentle hand guiding you into slumber. The afternoon light now pours more generously through the smoke vent, painting wide swaths of the longhouse floor with a diffused, golden glow. The air is still, the lingering scent of wood smoke mingling with the faint sweetness of fermenting grains from a corner where mead is brewing. You notice the general hum of activity has become more relaxed, less focused on urgent tasks and more on communal pursuits. It's a transition from the necessary work of the morning to the more social aspects of an indoor day. You see a group of women and men gathered around a large wooden trough, their hands plunged into a mixture of water and ground grain. They are preparing dough for bread, a staple of the Viking diet. The rhythmic kneading and pounding fill the air with a soft, squishy sound, and the scent of yeast begins to permeate the space. Bread making was a time-consuming but essential task, often done communally, turning it into a social event as much as a chore. Imagine the arm workout you'd get just making enough bread for one family, let alone a whole longhouse. You'd have arms like a seasoned blacksmith in no time. You also notice the preparation of various fermented foods. Pickled vegetables, salted meats, and cured fish would have been common, ensuring a food supply through the long winters. They were masters of preservation, coaxing longevity out of perishable goods with ingenuity and natural processes. It makes you think about how many of our modern foods rely on a freezer and wonder what kind of delicious fermented delights we've lost to time. Historians still argue about the exact types of grains cultivated and consumed most widely across different Viking regions. While barley and rye were common, wheat was less so, leading to variations in bread and porridge. It's like trying to definitively say what the most popular breakfast cereal was in 1995. Everyone had their favorite. You observe a lively storytelling session unfolding near the central fire. This isn't the formal saga recitation of last night, but a more casual exchange of tales, perhaps local legends or humorous anecdotes. Laughter rings out, warm and uninhibited, filling the longhouse with a joyous energy. Even the serious warriors are chuckling, their faces softened by mirth. It's a reminder that even in a world of hardship, joy and humor were vital. They weren't always grim and stoic. They enjoyed a good laugh as much as anyone. You recall a quirky tidbit about Viking humor. Riddles were incredibly popular, often intricate and full of double meanings. They were a common form of entertainment and intellectual challenge during gatherings. So, if you were invited to a Viking party, you better come prepared with some good brain teasers or risk being branded as hopelessly dull. A group of younger children are learning to read runes, tracing the angular shapes in the dust on the floor or on small pieces of wood. Runes were not just an alphabet. They were believed to possess magical properties, used for carving inscriptions on memorial stones, amulets, and weapons. It's a fundamental aspect of their culture, a blend of literacy and mysticism. You realize that even as they learned practical skills, they were also steeped in a rich, symbolic world. Meanwhile, some of the older boys are engaged in a friendly wrestling match, their grunts and playful shoves echoing through the longhouse. It's a test of strength and agility, building the physical prowess that was so valued in their society. No padded mats or referees here, just rough and tumble play, likely ending with a lot of dust and laughter, and maybe a few bruised egos. You imagine the amount of space these activities required within the longhouse, highlighting its role as a multifunctional hub for all aspects of community life. You notice a woman carefully mending a piece of clothing, stitching intricate patterns onto a tunic. Embroidery and decorative elements were common, even on everyday garments. This wasn't just about utility. It was about self-expression and cultural identity. The patterns might symbolize lineage, status, or simply aesthetic preference. It shows a surprising degree of artistry in a world often depicted as purely utilitarian. They didn't just wear clothes, they adorned themselves. The sounds of the longhouse are a comforting medley now, the soft thud of kneading dough, the murmur of storytelling, the occasional burst of laughter, and the steady rustle of straw as someone shifts. The air is warm and still, heavy with the lingering aromas of cooking and human presence. You feel a profound sense of continuity, a connection to generations of people who lived and worked in similar spaces, sharing similar experiences. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the interior with warmer, deeper hues, a gentle tiredness starts to settle over you again. The long day of observation, of quiet immersion in this ancient world, has been surprisingly peaceful. You find a comfortable spot near the dying embers of the hearth, feeling the last vestiges of warmth emanating from the stones. The conversations grow softer, the activities slow down, a natural winding down as dusk approaches. You close your eyes, letting the gentle sounds of the longhouse wash over you. The soft breathing of the other occupants, the distant sigh of the wind outside, the gentle crackle of the fire, they all combine into a soothing symphony. You feel completely at ease, wrapped in the comforting embrace of history, ready to drift into a deep and dreamless sleep. The longhouse, with its quiet industry and warm camaraderie, cradles you gently as you surrender to slumber. As twilight deepens, casting long, ethereal shadows across the longhouse interior, a distinct shift occurs in the atmosphere. The communal daytime activities begin to yield to quieter, more personal routines. The sounds soften, the conversations become hushed murmurs, and a sense of calm descends like a thick, comforting blanket. You notice people preparing their sleeping platforms, spreading out furs and woolen blankets, creating cozy nests for the night. You observe an elderly man carefully sharpening a small knife, its blade glinting faintly in the dim light. It's a simple, repetitive task, almost meditative. Perhaps he's preparing it for the morning's hunt, or simply ensuring his tools are always in prime condition. There's a quiet dignity in his movements, a lifetime of experience etched into his hands. You appreciate the meticulousness, the dedication to maintaining their tools as extensions of themselves. They truly understood the value of a well-kept blade. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a lifeline. You also notice the careful tending of the fire. As night falls, the fire is carefully banked, covered with ash to preserve the embers for the morning. This meticulous process ensures that they won't have to go through the arduous task of starting a new fire from scratch every day. It's a small but significant detail that speaks volumes about their practical ingenuity and resourcefulness. No need to waste energy when you can conserve it. Historians still argue about the exact methods of fire starting prevalent across all Viking settlements. While flint and steel were common, the use of fire drills and even fungi-based tinder varied regionally. It's a bit like trying to pin down the universal best way to make toast. Everyone has their own slightly different, highly opinionated method. You recall a humorous anecdote about Viking fire safety. Given the timber construction of their longhouses and the open fires, accidental fires were a constant risk. There are tales of quick-thinking villagers rushing to douse flames with anything at hand, including, supposedly, buckets of oil. Talk about a wasted brew, though arguably a very effective fire extinguisher in a pinch. The scent of wood smoke is now a gentle, familiar presence, comforting and earthy. You hear the soft rustle of straw as someone settles into their sleeping place, the rhythmic breathing of those already asleep. The longhouse, once a hub of activity, transforms into a haven of rest. You find yourself drawn to the quiet corners, observing the intimate moments of family life. A mother gently tucking her child into a fur-lined bed, whispering soft words and perhaps a lullaby. These are the universal moments of parenthood, transcending time and culture. You notice how tightly everyone sleeps together, a necessary adaptation for warmth in the cold Nordic climate. The body heat of many individuals packed into a single space would have been crucial for staying warm through the long, dark nights. It's a testament to their adaptability, making the most of their resources. You can almost feel the collective warmth, a comforting human blanket against the chill. You become aware of the natural sounds of the night seeping in from outside, the gentle sigh of the wind through the trees, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft drip of water from the eaves. These sounds, once threatening, now seem to contribute to the peaceful atmosphere within the longhouse. You are safe, enclosed, protected from the wilderness beyond. The sense of security is profound, a feeling of deep belonging to this ancient community. You see some people still lingering by the banked fire, sharing hushed conversations. Perhaps they are recounting the day's events, planning for tomorrow, or simply enjoying the quiet companionship before sleep fully claims them. The firelight flickers, casting dancing shadows that turn familiar faces into mythical figures, momentarily transforming the mundane into the magical. It's a time for quiet reflection, for stories shared in whispers, for the strengthening of bonds that are the very foundation of their society. The air grows cooler now, a gentle reminder that even with the banked fire, the night holds its own chill. You pull a soft, surprisingly warm woolen blanket tighter around yourself, feeling the rough texture of the wool against your skin. It's a simple comfort, yet deeply satisfying. You think about the sheep that provided the wool, the hands that spun it, the loom that wove it, a continuous chain of creation and necessity. You close your eyes, letting the sounds of the longhouse fade into a soft, indistinct hum. The rhythm of breathing around you is a collective heartbeat, a living pulse that connects you to this ancient world. Your thoughts drift, becoming less coherent, more dreamlike. The day's observations, the scents, the sounds, all merge into a single, soothing sensation. You are no longer just an observer. You are a part of this quiet, ancient night. The longhouse holds you in its embrace, a comforting womb of warmth and peace, guiding you gently into the depths of slumber. The dreams of Vikings, of ships and sagas, might just be waiting for you. The first hint of dawn, a faint grey light, begins to seep into the longhouse. You awaken slowly, not to an alarm, but to the subtle stirring of life around you. A cough, a rustle of straw, the soft creak of a timber. These are the gentle signals that a new day is dawning. The air is cool, with the lingering scent of last night's banked fire and the faint, sweet smell of human presence. It's a raw, elemental awakening, far removed from the climate-controlled comfort of your usual mornings. You observe the earliest risers, moving quietly so as not to disturb those still sleeping. A woman makes her way to the hearth, gently stirring the ashes to reveal the glowing embers beneath. A small puff of smoke rises, carrying the promise of warmth. The process is slow, deliberate, a ritual of bringing life back to the longhouse after the stillness of night. You realize how precious fire was, not just a convenience, but a constant, vital necessity. Imagine the sheer effort required to maintain it, day in and day out. You notice the simple yet effective design of the longhouse, how the raised sleeping platforms keep inhabitants off the damp earth, and how the smoke vent, while letting smoke out, also serves as a crucial light source. Every element is functional, a testament to centuries of trial and error in adapting to a challenging environment. It's not fancy, but it works, and it works well. You wouldn't want to be the architect who designed a longhouse that didn't keep the cold out. They'd likely be on the first ship out of town, possibly against their will. Historians still argue about the exact structural integrity and lifespan of various Viking longhouses. While archaeological evidence shows their general layout, the specific types of wood used and their treatments varied, impacting how long they stood against the harsh Nordic weather. It's like trying to predict how long a specific kind of modern house will last without knowing if it's made of solid brick or cheap particle board. You recall a curious fact about their building techniques. Some longhouses incorporated natural features, like large boulders, directly into their foundations or walls, making them even more stable and insulating. They truly worked with the land, not against it. It was sustainable architecture before the term was even invented. As more people begin to stir, the longhouse fills with the soft sounds of stretching limbs, quiet yawns, and the beginning of hushed conversations. The children are often the last to awaken, nestled deeply in their furs, their innocent faces oblivious to the demands of the coming day. You see a young boy, still half asleep, instinctively reaching for his wooden toy, a small carved horse. Even here, the universal comfort of a familiar object at bedtime holds true. The aroma of brewing herbal tea, or perhaps a thin, broth-like concoction, begins to waft from the hearth. Breakfast, while simple, is designed to be nourishing and warming. It's a quick, efficient start to the day as soon as there's enough light to begin work. You realize that their days are dictated by the sun's cycle, a stark contrast to the electric lights and 24/7 convenience of modern life. They live by the rhythms of nature, attuned to its subtle shifts. You observe a woman carefully combing her long, thick hair with a finely carved bone comb. Personal grooming, even in the morning dimness, is an important ritual. Cleanliness was valued, not just for appearance, but likely for health as well, preventing infestations and infections in close living quarters. You appreciate the simple elegance of her movements, a daily routine performed with quiet grace. The longhouse itself feels alive, slowly awakening with its inhabitants. The timber walls, which felt like ancient sentinels guarding your sleep, now seem to hum with a renewed energy. You can almost feel the history embedded in the wood, the countless lives lived within these very walls, the stories whispered into the fabric of the building itself. It's a powerful connection to the past, a feeling of being present in a moment that transpired centuries ago. You hear the distinct sound of a whetstone against metal, a familiar sharpening ritual beginning for the day's tools. Whether it's a knife for preparing food, an axe for felling wood, or a sword for defense, ensuring tools are sharp and ready is a constant priority. It's a sound that speaks of readiness, of competence, of a people prepared for whatever the day might bring. The air outside is still cool, but a faint bird chirping can be heard, signaling the return of light and activity to the world beyond the longhouse. But for now, you remain in this warm, enclosed space, savoring the peaceful transition from night to day. The quiet industry, the communal living, the deep connection to practical skills, it all contributes to a sense of profound stability. You feel completely at ease, wrapped in the protective embrace of this ancient home. Your eyelids begin to feel heavy once more, the gentle stirrings of the longhouse blending into a soft, hypnotic hum. The simple, rhythmic sounds, a quiet cough, the crackle of the fire, the soft breathing of those around you are like a lullaby. You drift, serene and content, allowing the ancient echoes of Viking life to guide you back into a deep, peaceful slumber. The world of the longhouse, with its quiet awakenings and enduring resilience, holds you gently in its embrace. The day outside has fully broken now, but the longhouse remains a sanctuary, particularly as the weather takes an unexpected turn. The earlier hint of sunshine has vanished, replaced by a biting wind that whistles around the eaves, carrying with it the undeniable scent of impending snow. You feel the sudden chill that seeps through the timbers, prompting a collective draw towards the central hearth. The fire, which was merely embers moments ago, is now being carefully stoked, the flames growing taller, chasing away the encroaching cold. You observe a flurry of activity, a quiet urgency that wasn't present before. People are gathering extra furs and blankets, not just for themselves but for the sleeping platforms. There's a palpable sense of preparation for harsher conditions, an instinct honed by generations of surviving unforgiving winters. You realize that a Viking's life was a constant negotiation with the elements, a perpetual dance between resourcefulness and raw endurance. There's no complaining, just an efficient, focused response. They'd probably laugh at the idea of complaining about a little chill. Just put on another sheep, they'd likely quip. You see women bringing out dried fish and salted meats from storage areas, preparing for meals that will need to sustain them through what could be days of confinement. The smell of the dried fish is strong, a briny tang that speaks of distant seas and vital sustenance. They are also checking on their root cellars, ensuring that the precious stores of vegetables are well protected from the frost. Every bit of food is valuable, a lifeline against starvation. Historians still argue about the precise nutritional completeness of the Viking diet, especially during long winters. While meat and fish were staples, the availability of fresh fruits and vegetables would have been limited, leading to potential deficiencies. It's a bit like trying to sustain yourself on nothing but beef jerky and a few pickled cucumbers for months, challenging, to say the least. You recall a curious fact: Vikings were known to consume a type of wild, nutrient-rich seaweed during lean times, a natural source of vitamins and minerals. So, while they might not have had a daily multivitamin, they had their own ingenious methods for staying healthy. They were probably the original health food fanatics, just without the kale smoothies. The sounds within the longhouse adapt to the new chill. The laughter of children is a little more subdued, replaced by the crackle of the growing fire and the soft rustle of people settling in for what might be a prolonged stay indoors. You notice a group of older men gathered, meticulously inspecting their fishing nets. They are mending any small tears, checking the integrity of the ropes, ensuring that when the weather breaks, they can immediately return to the crucial task of gathering food. There's a pragmatic wisdom in their actions, always planning ahead, always preparing for the next challenge. You observe a woman spinning wool by the fire, her fingers moving with incredible speed. The demand for warm clothing would have been constant, especially with the onset of cold weather. Every thread, every stitch was a tiny act of survival. You imagine the satisfaction of wearing a garment that you, or a member of your family, had spun and woven from scratch. It connects you directly to the source, to the land, to the animals, to the very hands that created it. The longhouse walls, which seemed sturdy before, now feel like a vital barrier against the howling wind. You can almost feel the timber straining against the gusts, the snow beginning to accumulate on the roof. Yet, inside, a sense of resilience prevails. There is no panic, just a quiet acceptance of the circumstances and a determined focus on making the best of it. This is their life, and they meet it head-on. You see a group huddled around a small, beautifully carved wooden board, playing another round of Nafatoffel. Even as the temperature drops, the human need for entertainment and intellectual challenge remains. The intensity on their faces is clear, their minds engaged in strategic combat, a welcome diversion from the worries of the weather. It's a mental escape, a way to sharpen their wits, even when physical activity is limited. The air thickens with the comforting smell of wood smoke and the subtle, earthy aroma of drying furs. You feel the warmth of the fire on your face, a welcome contrast to the chill in the air. The sounds of the longhouse, the low murmur of voices, the crackle of the fire, the soft rustle of movements are a soothing backdrop to your thoughts. You appreciate the shared experience, the collective strength that comes from enduring challenges together. As the light outside dims further, signaling the full descent of the snow, the longhouse becomes an even more profound sanctuary. You find yourself leaning against a warm, sturdy post, feeling the ancient wood hum with the life contained within. The world outside may be turning into a harsh, white expanse, but inside, warmth, community, and quiet perseverance reign. Your eyelids grow heavy, a gentle weight pulling them down. The sounds of the longhouse, now hushed and comforting, blend into a soft, hypnotic drone. You are safe, enveloped in the enduring warmth of human resilience. The images of diligent preparation and quiet strength fill your mind as you drift deeper into a peaceful slumber. The Viking world, with its unwavering determination against the elements, cradles you gently as you sleep. The sound of the wind, though still present, has softened. A gentle sigh rather than a howl. You awaken to a longhouse transformed by a different kind of light that diffused. Luminous glow of snow reflecting through the smoke vent and the few small openings in the walls. Everything seems quieter, hushed by the thick blanket of snow outside. The air inside is crisp, carrying the faint, comforting scent of the banked fire and something undeniably earthy, perhaps from stored roots or damp soil. You notice the shift in activity. Less frantic preparation, more focused, deliberate work. The initial shock of the snowstorm has passed, replaced by a pragmatic acceptance of a prolonged period indoors. People are moving with a quiet purpose, their tasks often involving tools and materials that can only be worked on within the confines of the longhouse. You see a man meticulously carving a new handle for an axe, his movements precise and unhurried. The shavings curl away from the blade, falling softly onto the straw-covered floor. There's an artistry in his craft, a dedication to creating something not just functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. You also observe women working with looms, their shuttles flying back and forth with rhythmic clicks. They are weaving thick woolens, perhaps for cloaks or tunics, ensuring the community stays warm through the heart of winter. The colors are earthy deep browns, muted greens, and the occasional splash of red or blue from natural dyes. It's a laborious process, but one that yields essential warmth and protection. Imagine trying to stay warm without the benefit of modern insulation. Every thread counts. Historians still argue about the exact size and complexity of looms used in different Viking communities. While vertical warp-weighted looms were common, there's evidence of other types, suggesting a diverse range of textile production methods. It's like trying to determine the single most popular type of sewing machine when there were countless variations used across different villages. You recall a quirky tidbit: some archaeologists have found evidence of incredibly fine and intricate textiles, suggesting that the Vikings were not just producing rough, practical clothing, but also luxury items, perhaps for trade or for ceremonial purposes. So, while they were tough warriors, they also appreciated a bit of high fashion. They were the original rough around the edges, but impeccably dressed trendsetters. The sounds in the longhouse are a symphony of quiet industry. The gentle thud of the carver's tool, the rhythmic click-clack of the loom, the soft murmur of conversations. Children, bundled in extra layers, play quieter games, perhaps with carved wooden figures or small pieces of bone. Their laughter is muted, a soft echo in the vast space. They are learning the patience required for intricate tasks, observing their elders, absorbing the knowledge that will define their adult lives. You find yourself drawn to a corner where an older woman is teaching a young girl how to spin. The girl's fingers are clumsy at first, the thread uneven, but the elder's guidance is gentle and encouraging. This direct transmission of skills, generation to generation, is the bedrock of their society. There are no schools, no formal curricula, just the daily apprenticeship of living and learning. It's a powerful reminder of how knowledge was embodied, not just stored in books. You notice the subtle warmth emanating from the central hearth, the fire now a steady, comforting presence. The air is surprisingly fresh, despite the close quarters, likely due to the constant circulation through the smoke vent. The scent of pine and spruce, brought in with the fresh firewood, mingles with the familiar aromas of wool and human presence. You see a group of men carefully inspecting and cleaning their leather gear belts, scabbards, and pouches. Leather was another essential material, used for everything from clothing to tools and protection. Maintaining it meant oiling and preserving it, ensuring it remained supple and durable in the cold, damp conditions. It's a repetitive, almost meditative task, one that reinforces the importance of meticulous care for their valuable possessions. You wouldn't want your scabbard to crack mid-battle, after all. That's just bad form. The light outside fades as the day progresses, but the snow-reflected glow keeps the longhouse surprisingly bright. You appreciate the ingenious design that allowed for natural light even on the darkest of days. As dusk begins to settle, the activities within the longhouse shift once more towards communal warmth and storytelling. The voices grow louder, more convivial. As the day's labors give way to shared leisure, you feel a profound sense of connection to this place, to these people. Their resilience, their resourcefulness, their quiet strength in the face of nature's raw power. It's inspiring. You lean back against a warm timber, feeling the ancient wood beneath your hand. The sounds of the longhouse, now a mix of soft conversations and quiet laughter, lull you into a state of deep contentment. Your eyelids grow heavy, drawn down by the profound peace of the moment. the gentle hum of voices, the soft crackle of the fire, the steady presence of human life all blend into a comforting symphony. You drift, serene and secure, allowing the ancient echoes of this snowbound longhouse to guide you into a profound and restful sleep. The Viking world, with its quiet strength and enduring spirit, cradles you gently as you slumber. The deep quiet of a snow-bound night has settled over the longhouse. You awaken not to light, but to the profound stillness, the kind of quiet that only a thick blanket of snow can create. The air is cool, yet not unpleasantly so, a testament to the longhouse's ability to retain warmth. The fire is reduced to embers, casting a faint, orange glow that paints the sleeping figures in soft, shifting light. You can hear the gentle breathing of many people, a rhythmic, comforting sound that emphasizes the collective life within these walls. You become aware of the subtle sounds that define this deep night quiet. The almost imperceptible creak of a timber as the building settles in the cold, the soft rustle of straw as someone shifts in their sleep, perhaps a distant, muffled hoot of an owl from the snow-laden trees outside. These are the sounds of an ancient world, stripped of modern distractions, leaving only the elemental presence of life and the elements. You notice the profound sense of vulnerability that comes with such reliance on natural light and warmth. There are no night lights, no lamps to flick on. Darkness is truly dark, and the faint glow of the embers is a precious commodity. It makes you realize how attuned their senses must have been to even the slightest sound or movement in the darkness. You'd probably trip over everything trying to find the latrine. Historians still argue about the typical sleep patterns in Viking longhouses. With communal sleeping and natural light cycles, it's possible they practiced segmented sleep, waking during the night for tasks or social interaction before returning to sleep, rather than one continuous stretch. It's a mystery, like trying to figure out why your cat insists on waking you up at 3 a.m. You recall a curious tidbit in some colder regions. It's believed that livestock, particularly cattle and sheep, were brought into one end of the longhouse during the harshest winter months. Their body heat would contribute significantly to the warmth, turning the longhouse into a kind of integrated, albeit rather pungent, living and animal shelter. Imagine waking up to the gentle chewing sounds of a cow just a few feet away. That's a unique alarm clock. The air is thick with the scent of human warmth, wood smoke, and a faint, sweetish aroma from the stored food. It's a primal scent, a mix of survival and communal living. You feel utterly safe, nestled within the collective warmth of the longhouse, protected from the biting cold that grips the outside world. The shared space, which might seem crowded by modern standards, becomes a profound source of security. You drift through the longhouse, a silent observer of the sleeping forms. Each person, wrapped in their furs, looks peaceful, their faces softened by slumber. Even the most formidable warriors appear vulnerable in their sleep, their burdens temporarily shed. It's a reminder of the shared humanity, transcending the centuries and the vastly different lives. You notice the simplicity of their sleeping arrangement: straw mattresses, often covered with animal furs for warmth. No spring mattresses or memory foam here, yet generations slept soundly on these basic beds. It speaks to a different expectation of comfort, one born of hard physical labor and a deep connection to the natural world. Your own bed suddenly feels ridiculously luxurious. The faint light from the banked fire pulses gently, almost like a living heart in the center of the longhouse. It's a beacon of warmth and life in the deep darkness. The silence is profound, broken only by the softest of sounds, emphasizing the shared stillness of the night. This is a time for rest, for dreams, for the body and mind to recover from the demands of a hard-working life. You reflect on the resilience of these people, how they adapted to their environment with such ingenuity and strength. They built homes that defied the harsh climate, cultivated skills that ensured their survival and fostered a sense of community that provided solace and support. Even in the depths of winter, with snow piled high outside, life within the longhouse continued, warm and purposeful. Your eyelids begin to feel incredibly heavy, a gentle weight pulling them down. The profound quiet of the snowbound longhouse, punctuated by the soft sounds of sleeping life, is the ultimate lullaby. You feel completely relaxed, your mind emptying of all worries. The images of warmth and communal safety fill your thoughts as you surrender to the comforting embrace of the ancient night. You drift deeper and deeper, carried by the quiet rhythms of the Viking world into a peaceful, dreamless sleep. The subtle shift in the air, a faint crispness, and the barely perceptible increase in light signal the approach of a new dawn, even through the thick, snow-laden skies. You stir from a deep, profound sleep, feeling wonderfully rested. The longhouse remains in a state of tranquil slumber, but you can feel the energy of a new day beginning to ripple through the communal space. The scent of the banked fire is still prominent, a reassuring, smoky perfume that signifies warmth and continuity. You notice how the collective breathing of the longhouse occupants forms a quiet, soothing rhythm, a gentle background hum to your awakening. It's a sound of shared existence, a tangible connection to the lives around you. You realize that solitude, in the modern sense, was a rare luxury in this world. Privacy was practically non-existent, but in its place was a constant, comforting presence of community. There's always someone there, always a shared warmth, always a familiar sound. It's a bit like a perpetual slumber party, but with axes. You observe the faint, diffused light from the snow outside creating soft, luminous patterns on the inner walls. It's a beautiful, ethereal glow, unlike any artificial light. It illuminates the intricate carvings on the wooden pillars, the woven patterns on the hanging tapestries, and the sleeping faces of the longhouse inhabitants, transforming them into figures from ancient sagas. Historians still argue about the extent of artistic expression within everyday Viking objects. While famous for their elaborate jewelry and ship carvings, many everyday items also show surprising decorative flourishes. It's a bit like trying to decide if the average person today puts as much effort into decorating their coffee mug as their house. You recall a curious fact: archaeologists have found evidence of board games with incredibly intricate and beautiful carved pieces, suggesting that even their leisure activities were infused with a strong aesthetic sense. They clearly appreciated beauty, even in the most mundane items. They probably had the most stylish board game nights in all of history. As the longhouse slowly begins to awaken, the first movements are quiet and deliberate. A person coughs softly, another stretches, their joints creaking faintly. You hear the rustle of straw as someone rises from their sleeping platform. The daily ritual of rekindling the fire begins, a quiet dance of stirring embers, adding kindling, and coaxing the flames to life. The first wisps of smoke curl upwards, carrying the promise of warmth and sustenance. You watch as a young man, perhaps a teenager, retrieves a small leather pouch from beneath his sleeping furs. He carefully pulls out a set of small, polished bones or stones. He begins to arrange them in a pattern on the ground, seemingly engaged in a form of divination or a game of chance. Gambling and games of skill were common pastimes, especially during long periods indoors. It's a reminder that even in a world focused on survival, there was still room for leisure, for risk-taking, and for testing one's luck. You notice the quiet camaraderie among the people as they begin their morning routines. There are no loud shouts or frantic movements, just a shared understanding of the tasks at hand. Children, now more fully awake, rub the sleep from their eyes, perhaps already anticipating the morning meal. The aroma of brewing herbs or a thin broth starts to mingle with the scent of wood smoke, hinting at the simple breakfast to come. You see a woman carefully preparing a comb from an antler, her hands moving with practiced ease as she files and shapes the tines. This level of self-sufficiency, where even personal grooming tools are crafted by hand, is astonishing. It makes you realize the sheer depth of their practical skills, their ability to create virtually everything they needed from raw materials. They were the ultimate DIY experts. The longhouse itself seems to breathe with the quiet life within its walls. The timber, which has stood for generations, feels imbued with the essence of all who have lived there, their stories and struggles etched into its very fabric. You feel a profound sense of continuity, a connection to the long line of ancestors who endured similar winters within similar walls. Your eyelids begin to feel heavy once more, despite the gradual brightening of the longhouse. The soft sounds of awakening, the gentle movements, the quiet industry all combine into a soothing melody. You feel utterly peaceful, held within the ancient embrace of this communal home. The images of quiet resilience and shared life fill your thoughts as you drift deeper into a serene and tranquil slumber. The Viking world, with its enduring warmth and subtle rhythms, cradles you gently as you sleep. To the mid-morning light, a pale silver glow filtered through the snow-covered vent illuminates the longhouse with a serene, almost dreamlike quality. The air is still and cool, yet comfortable, carrying the faint, reassuring scent of simmering food and warm wool. You are completely at ease, nestled within the quiet hum of communal life. The sounds are soft, a blend of gentle activity and hushed conversation, creating a continuous, soothing backdrop. You observe a woman meticulously cleaning and preparing animal hides. She's scraping away any remaining flesh or fat, a laborious and somewhat odorous task, but essential for transforming raw hide into supple leather or warm fur. This raw material will be used for clothing, shoes, bags, and countless other necessities. It's a powerful reminder of their deep connection to the animals they hunted and raised, and their commitment to utilizing every part of the kill. No waste here, just profound respect for resources. You also notice how they work with what's available. Unlike modern societies with global supply chains, Vikings were constrained by local resources. Every tool, every garment, every meal was a direct result of their immediate environment and their ingenuity in transforming it. This profound self-sufficiency is both daunting and admirable. You can't just order a new coat from Amazon when yours rips. Historians still argue about the specific techniques used for tanning leather in different Viking regions. While brain tanning and bark tanning were likely common, the precise chemical processes and preferred materials varied, influencing the final quality and properties of the leather. It's like trying to perfectly recreate an ancient recipe without knowing the exact cooking temperature or ingredient ratios. You recall a quirky tidbit about Viking craftsmanship. Some of their leather products, particularly shoes, were so well made that examples have been preserved for over 1,000 years in archaeological digs, still retaining their shape and even some flexibility. They weren't just functional, they were built to last, a testament to their exceptional skills. Imagine your hiking boots surviving for a millennium. The sounds of the longhouse are a subtle symphony of daily life, the soft scrape of the hide, the gentle murmur of a conversation, the distant creak of timbers. Children, their voices hushed, are engaged in quiet play, perhaps practicing their weaving with small, crude looms made of twigs, or carving miniature figures from soft wood. They are learning the rhythms of their world, absorbing the skills and values of their elders through direct observation and participation. You see a man meticulously carving runes into a piece of wood, perhaps a small personal amulet or a message. Runes were more than just letters. They were considered powerful symbols, imbued with magical properties. The act of carving them was often a meditative, almost sacred process, connecting the carver to the ancient wisdom and spiritual forces. It's a blend of literacy, artistry, and belief that deeply permeates their culture. You notice the quiet focus on each task, a complete immersion in the present moment. There's no multitasking in the modern sense, no distraction from screens or constant notifications. Every action is deliberate, every movement purposeful. It's a level of presence that feels deeply calming, a stark contrast to the often fragmented attention of contemporary life. The air remains cool, but the fire is kept steadily burning, a constant source of warmth and light. The scent of wood smoke is a comforting presence, familiar and reassuring. You feel completely at ease, a sense of timelessness washing over you as you witness these enduring rituals of daily life. The longhouse, with its thick walls and sturdy roof, feels like a safe harbor against the vast, snow-covered world outside. As the light outside begins its slow decline, signaling the approach of evening, a subtle change occurs in the longhouse. The focused work gives way to more relaxed activities. You might hear the faint strumming of a lyre or the beginning of a shared story, a quiet transition into the evening's companionship and entertainment. You find yourself leaning back against a warm wooden post, feeling the ancient timber beneath your hand. The sounds of the longhouse, now a gentle blend of quiet industry and soft communal chatter, lull you into a state of profound contentment. Your eyelids feel heavy, a gentle weight drawing them down. The images of meticulous craftsmanship, quiet focus, and enduring resilience fill your mind as you drift deeper into a peaceful and dreamless slumber. The Viking world, with its steady rhythms and quiet strength, cradles you gently as you sleep. 3. The longhouse is bathed in the soft, intimate glow of the hearth fire, casting dancing shadows across the figures gathered around its warmth. The outside world is completely lost to the deep, pervasive silence of a heavy snowfall, amplifying the sounds within. You are completely absorbed in the moment, enveloped by the tangible presence of this ancient community. The air is thick with the comforting aroma of wood smoke, simmering food, and the distinct scent of drying damp wool. You observe a woman meticulously mending a fishing net, her fingers moving with incredible speed and precision, tying knot after tiny knot. The net is a lifeline, a crucial tool for securing food from the rivers and seas when the weather permits. Her focused dedication to this task highlights the immense value placed on every tool, every item that contributed to survival. This isn't just a chore, it's an act of sustaining life. You wouldn't want to rely on a flimsy net in a raging storm after all. That's just asking for a very hungry winter. You also notice the communal aspect of this work. While one person might be primarily responsible, others often sit nearby, offering advice, sharing stories, or simply providing companionship. This shared labor fosters a strong sense of community and mutual reliance. There's no isolation here, just constant, supportive presence. Historians still argue about the precise types of fish and marine life that constituted the bulk of the Viking diet in different regions. While cod and herring were common, evidence suggests they also hunted seals and whales in some areas, adapting to local marine ecosystems. It's a bit like trying to figure out if your ancestors preferred salmon or tuna, without any surviving grocery lists. You recall a humorous anecdote about fishing. Viking sagas sometimes mention fishermen getting into comical, yet dangerous, predicaments with large, unruly fish or sea creatures. Imagine a Viking struggling with a massive cod, yelling by Odin's beard, "This one fights like a dragon!" as he's nearly pulled overboard. The sounds in the longhouse are a soothing symphony, the soft snip of thread, the gentle murmur of conversations, the crackle and hiss of the fire. Children, bundled in furs, are gathered around an elder, listening intently to a story. Their eyes are wide, captivated by the tale, perhaps a saga of gods and heroes, or a more personal account of a daring voyage. Storytelling is more than entertainment here. It's the primary way history, values, and cultural identity are transmitted across generations. You find yourself drawn to the warmth of the fire, feeling the heat radiate outwards. The flickering flames cast dancing patterns on the faces of the listeners, turning them into rapt figures from a bygone era. The simple act of sharing a story in the flickering light of the hearth creates a powerful bond, a timeless connection that transcends the centuries. You see a group of men quietly working on wooden implements, perhaps shaping handles for tools or carving decorative pieces for household use. Woodworking was a fundamental skill, and even the simplest spoon or bowl could be a work of art, showcasing intricate knotwork or animal motifs. The soft thud of a mallet against wood, the rhythmic scrape of a carving tool, these are the sounds of creation, of turning raw materials into functional beauty. The air is still, the heavy snowfall outside muffling all external sounds, making the longhouse feel like an enclosed, precious bubble of warmth and life. You appreciate the deep sense of security this brings, a feeling of profound protection from the unforgiving wilderness. It's a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of these people who crafted such havens in a harsh world. You notice the quiet dignity in their movements, the deep respect for their crafts, and the unspoken understanding of their interdependence. Every person contributes, every skill is valued, and the collective effort ensures the survival and well-being of the entire community. It's a powerful lesson in self-sufficiency and communal strength. As the hours of the night slowly tick by, the activities in the longhouse gradually wind down. The storytelling becomes softer, the conversations more subdued. People begin to make their way to their sleeping platforms, settling into the familiar comfort of their furs and straw. The fire is carefully banked, its glow softening to a deep, comforting orange. You find yourself utterly at peace, your mind quieted by the enduring rhythms of this ancient home. The gentle sounds of the longhouse, the soft breathing of its occupants, the lingering crackle of the fire, the profound stillness of the snow-bound night blend into a perfect lullaby. Your eyelids grow heavy, a comforting weight drawing them down. You drift, serene and content, enveloped in the quiet strength of the Viking world, ready to surrender to a deep and dreamless sleep. For the longhouse is steeped in the pre-dawn quiet, a profound stillness broken only by the soft, rhythmic breathing of its many occupants. You stir slowly, not to light, but to the subtle shift in temperature as the banked fire's warmth slightly diminishes and the faint, earthy scent of damp earth and wood smoke. It's a gentle awakening, a slow transition from the depths of sleep to the quiet anticipation of a new day. You become aware of the sheer number of people around you, a comforting presence in the vast darkness. The longhouse, which can feel enormous during the day, shrinks into a cozy, protective cocoon at night, its walls humming with the collective life within. This constant proximity, while perhaps challenging for privacy, fosters an unbreakable bond of community and mutual reliance. There's a profound security in knowing you are never truly alone. It's like a very big, very old, and very drafty blanket fort. You observe the faint outlines of sleeping figures, bundled in furs, their forms barely visible in the dim light. The simplicity of their existence, stripped of modern complexities, is strikingly apparent. Their lives are governed by elemental needs: food, warmth, shelter, and community. Everything else is secondary. Historians still argue about the precise population density within Viking longhouses, while archaeological footprints provide dimensions. The number of individuals actually residing in a single structure could vary greatly depending on family size, social status, and regional customs. It's like trying to guess how many people live in a modern apartment building just by looking at its exterior. You recall a curious tidbit about communal living in some longhouses, particularly in Iceland. The placement of the fire pit and the smoke vent was so crucial that families would even build small, individual beds or enclosures around the sleeping platforms to capture more heat and smoke, effectively creating microclimates within the larger dwelling. Talk about personalized climate control, Viking style. As the first faint glimmers of light begin to penetrate the smoke vent, a subtle stirring begins. A soft cough here, a gentle rustle of straw there. The earliest risers move with a quiet reverence, careful not to disturb the others. You hear the delicate scraping sound as someone carefully unearths the glowing embers from the banked fire, coaxing new flames to life. The first wisps of fresh smoke fill the air, a sign of warmth returning to the heart of the longhouse. You notice the practical simplicity of their morning routine. No elaborate preparations, just the essential tasks required to begin the day. Rekindling the fire, perhaps retrieving water from a nearby bucket, and preparing a simple, nourishing meal. The aroma of simmering grains or a thin broth begins to waft through the air, a warm, comforting promise of sustenance. You see a young woman meticulously combing her long hair with a bone comb, her movements smooth and practiced. Personal hygiene, even in the morning dimness, is clearly important. Cleanliness was not just about appearance, but also about health, preventing parasites and maintaining comfort in close quarters. It's a quiet ritual, performed with a timeless grace. The longhouse itself feels like a living entity, slowly awakening with its inhabitants. The ancient timbers, which have sheltered countless generations, seem to breathe with a renewed energy. You can almost feel the echoes of past lives, the shared joys and sorrows, the countless moments lived within these very walls. It creates a powerful connection to the continuum of human existence. You hear the faint, rhythmic clink-clink of metal as someone begins to sharpen a tool for the day's work. Whether it's a knife for food preparation or an axe for woodworking, the act of sharpening is a constant, essential task, ensuring efficiency and safety. It's a sound that speaks of diligence, of preparedness, of a people who understand the value of well-maintained equipment. The light outside is still soft, diffused by the thick snow, but a sense of purpose begins to fill the longhouse. The quiet conversations start, plans for the day are murmured, and the various tasks of communal life slowly begin to unfold. You appreciate the slow, unhurried pace, a contrast to the often frantic rush of modern mornings. Everything here is done with deliberate care, with an awareness of its impact on the collective. Your eyelids feel heavy once more, drawn down by the profound peace of the moment. The soft sounds of the awakening longhouse, the gentle breathing, the crackle of the fire, the hushed conversations, all blend into a perfect, soothing melody. You drift, serene and content, enveloped in the quiet strength of the Viking world, ready to surrender to a deep and dreamless sleep. The longhouse, with its enduring warmth and subtle rhythms, cradles you gently as you slumber. The soft, diffused light of a snow-covered morning now fully illuminates the longhouse, painting everything in shades of muted silver and grey. The air is crisp, carrying the clean scent of fresh wood smoke and the subtle tang of brewing herbal tea. You feel wonderfully refreshed, deeply rested by the quiet solitude within the communal space. The longhouse hums with a gentle, purposeful energy as the daily rhythms of life continue. You notice a group of individuals gathered around a work table, their hands busy with intricate crafts. One man is meticulously carving a piece of bone into a comb, his tools delicate and precise. Another is shaping amber into small beads for jewelry, the golden material catching the light. These aren't just utilitarian items. They are expressions of artistry and skill, often traded or given as gifts, signifying status and wealth. You realize that even in a world focused on survival, there was a deep appreciation for beauty and personal adornment. They were as likely to appreciate a finely crafted necklace as they were a sharp axe. You also observe that some of these crafts required immense patience and a keen eye, often taking days or even weeks to complete a single intricate piece. This slow, deliberate process is a stark contrast to the mass-produced goods of today. Every item held a story, a connection to the hands that made it. Historians still argue about the primary economic drivers for different Viking settlements. While raiding and trade were significant, local craftsmanship and agricultural output were also crucial, forming a complex web of economic activity. It's like trying to pinpoint the single most important industry in a modern city. Usually, it's a mix of many. You recall a curious tidbit. Some of the most exquisite Viking archaeological finds are not weapons, but small, personal items like finely carved wooden boxes, decorated spindles, or elaborate buckles, showcasing an unexpected tenderness and artistic flair. It reminds you that they were full human beings, not just fierce warriors. They had a softer side, even if it was covered in chainmail. The sounds in the longhouse are a calming blend of quiet industry, the gentle scrape of a carving tool, the soft clink of amber beads, the low murmur of conversations. Children, now fully awake and fed, are engaged in educational play. You see a boy learning to tie intricate knots with lengths of rope, his fingers slowly mastering the complex patterns essential for sailing and daily life. A girl is practicing her weaving on a small, handheld loom, her brow furrowed in concentration. Learning here is hands-on, directly relevant to their future roles in the community. You find yourself drawn to the warmth of the central hearth, where the fire burns steadily, casting a comforting glow. The aroma of simmering food is stronger now, promising a hearty midday meal. The air feels clean and fresh, despite the many occupants, likely due to the continuous airflow through the smoke vent. There's a palpable sense of shared purpose, a collective focus on the tasks that sustain them. You see a group of men gathered, not around weapons, but around a large, detailed map, or perhaps a carved model of a ship. They are discussing trade routes, navigating potential dangers, and planning future voyages. These indoor days were crucial for strategic planning, for charting courses, and for sharing vital information gathered from previous journeys. Their minds were as sharp as their blades, always calculating, always learning. The light outside might be dull and silver from the lingering snow, but inside the longhouse, there's a vibrant, quiet energy. It's a testament to the fact that even when confined by the elements, their lives were full of purpose, creativity, and intellectual engagement. This wasn't just a shelter. It was a workshop, a school, a meeting hall, and a home. As the day progresses, the light outside begins its slow retreat, signaling the approach of evening. The intense focus on individual crafts might soften, giving way to more communal activities. You might hear the beginning of a saga, or the quiet strumming of a lyre, as the longhouse transitions into its evening rituals. You lean back against a sturdy wooden pillar, feeling the ancient timber hum with the energy of human endeavor. The sounds of the longhouse, now a gentle blend of meticulous crafting and soft communal chatter, lull you into a state of profound contentment. Your eyelids feel heavy, a gentle weight drawing them down. The images of diligent craftsmanship, intellectual pursuits, and enduring resilience fill your mind as you drift deeper into a peaceful and dreamless slumber. The Viking world, with its steady rhythms and quiet strength, cradles you gently as you sleep. As twilight deepens, painting the longhouse interior in hues of orange and deep shadow from the central hearth, a profound sense of quiet contentment settles over the space. The sounds of daytime work have softened, replaced by a gentle hum of conversation and the subtle rustle of people preparing for the evening. You feel completely relaxed, enveloped by the enduring warmth and peaceful rhythm of this ancient home. The air is thick with the comforting aroma of wood smoke and the lingering scent of the evening meal. You observe the families gathering closer to the fire, the flickering light illuminating their faces. Children, now tired from a day of learning and play, snuggle close to their parents. There's a palpable sense of familial bond, a deep connection that is forged through shared hardship and communal living. In this world, family wasn't just a unit. It was a survival mechanism, a source of unwavering support. It makes you think about how often we take our own familial connections for granted. You notice the quiet acts of affection, a parent stroking a child's hair, a couple sharing a hushed word, the easy comfort of physical proximity. These are the universal gestures of love and care, transcending the vast expanse of time. Even in a world often depicted as brutal, tenderness and compassion were clearly present, defining the fabric of their daily lives. Historians still argue about the precise family structures within Viking society. While nuclear families were common, the extended family and clan ties were incredibly important, often living together or in close proximity. It's like trying to draw a definitive family tree when everyone lives in the same very large, very active house. You recall a humorous anecdote about Viking family as sagas often depict strong, opinionated women who were not afraid to speak their minds, even to their formidable warrior husbands. Imagine a Viking wife telling her husband, "You're going on another raid. Have you forgotten we're out of mead and the cow needs milking?" The sounds in the longhouse are a soothing symphony of shared life. The gentle crackle of the fire, the low murmur of voices, the soft sigh of the wind outside. Some people are engaged in quiet mending, repairing torn clothes or worn tools, a testament to their practicality and frugality. Nothing is wasted. Everything is valued and made to last. This commitment to sustainability wasn't a choice. It was a necessity. You see an elder recounting a saga, their voice a low, melodic rumble that fills the longhouse. This isn't just entertainment. It's a living history lesson, preserving the deeds of their ancestors, the wisdom of their gods, and the moral lessons that guide their lives. The listeners are rapt, their eyes fixed on the storyteller, their imaginations transported to distant lands and epic battles. It's a reminder of the power of oral tradition, a connection to a past that lives on through spoken word. You find yourself completely immersed in the narrative, feeling the power of the story wash over you. The longhouse feels like a sacred space, a vessel for these ancient tales. The air is still, save for the crackling fire, and the collective attention is almost palpable. This shared experience of storytelling reinforces their cultural identity, binding them together through common myths and shared heroes. You notice the simple satisfaction on people's faces as they relax into the evening. The day's labors are done, and now is the time for connection, for rest, for the simple joys of human companionship. The longhouse, with its sturdy walls and warm hearth, is more than just a shelter. It's the beating heart of their community, a place of safety and belonging. As the last embers of the fire begin to fade, and the longhouse settles into the deep quiet of night, the conversations grow softer, eventually fading into contented silence. People make their final preparations for sleep, settling into their furs, pulling the thick woolens tight against the coming chill. The outside world, with its vast, snow-covered expanse, feels utterly distant and irrelevant. You lean back against the warm timber, feeling the ancient wood hum with the peace and resilience of generations. The sounds of the longhouse, now hushed to soft breathing and the occasional rustle of straw, become the ultimate lullaby. Your eyelids grow incredibly heavy, a gentle weight drawing them down. You drift serene and utterly content, enveloped in the quiet strength and enduring warmth of the Viking world, ready to surrender to a deep and dreamless sleep. 7. The longhouse is bathed in the profound stillness of deep night, a silence that only a heavy blanket of snow can create. You awaken to this quietude, a sensation of complete peace washing over you. The air is cool, yet surprisingly comfortable, carrying the faint, lingering scent of banked embers and the subtle aroma of warm furs. There is no artificial light, only the faint, almost imperceptible glow from the deeply buried fire, painting the sleeping forms in soft, shifting shadows. You become acutely aware of the sheer number of lives sleeping around you, a palpable presence that is both comforting and profound. The rhythmic breathing of many individuals creates a soft, continuous hum, a living pulse that connects you to this ancient community. In this world, solitude in the modern sense is virtually unknown. Instead, there is a constant, reassuring presence, a shared warmth against the vast, dark world outside. It's like being part of a giant, very cozy, human-powered central heating system. You observe the simplicity of their sleeping arrangements, straw mattresses laid out on raised platforms, covered with thick animal furs and woolen blankets. There are no individual rooms, no private spaces. Yet there is a natural rhythm to their communal living. Every movement, every sound, is part of a collective understanding, a quiet ballad of shared existence. You realize how different their concept of privacy must have been, finding comfort in the close proximity rather than seeking isolation. Historians still argue about the specifics of personal space and privacy within Viking longhouses. While it was clearly a communal living arrangement, some scholars suggest that individuals might have created small, personal nooks or used curtains made of hides for a sense of separation. It's like trying to figure out if your ancestors had a favorite armchair or if everyone just shared the communal bench. You recall a curious tidbit about Viking communal spaces. Archaeological evidence sometimes points to designated areas within longhouses for specific activities, like cooking, crafting, or even keeping livestock. So, while it was open plan, it wasn't entirely chaotic. There was a method to their multifunctional madness. The air is thick with the primal sense of human warmth, wood smoke, and the earthy aroma of stored provisions. It's a sense of survival, of a deep connection to the land and its resources. You feel utterly safe, nestled within the collective warmth of the longhouse, protected from the biting cold and the vast, snow-covered wilderness that stretches beyond its sturdy walls. You drift through the sleeping longhouse, a silent observer of the peaceful forms. Each person, wrapped in their layers, seems utterly at rest, their faces softened by slumber. Even the most hardened warriors appear vulnerable in the depths of night, their defenses momentarily lowered. It's a powerful reminder of the universal human need for rest and security, transcending the centuries and the vastly different lives. The faint glow from the banked fire pulses gently, a tiny beacon of warmth and life in the deep darkness. It's a testament to their foresight and resourcefulness, ensuring that the embers remain alive, ready to be coaxed back into a roaring flame at dawn. This careful preservation of fire highlights its profound importance. It was not just warmth, but survival itself. The silence is profound, broken only by the softest of sounds, emphasizing the shared stillness of the night. This is a time for deep rest, for the body and mind to recover from the demands of a hard physical life. You reflect on the resilience of these people, how they crafted lives of purpose and meaning within the constraints of their environment. They built homes that defied the harsh climate, cultivated skills that ensured their survival, and fostered a sense of community that provided unwavering solace and support. Your eyelids begin to feel incredibly heavy, a gentle weight pulling them down. The profound quiet of the snow-bound longhouse, punctuated by the soft, rhythmic sounds of sleeping life, is the ultimate lullaby. You feel completely relaxed, your mind emptying of all worries. The images of warmth, communal safety, and enduring strength fill your thoughts as you surrender to the comforting embrace of the ancient night. You drift deeper and deeper, carried by the quiet rhythms of the Viking world, into a peaceful, dreamless sleep. 8 as the pre-dawn light, a faint, almost imperceptible grey, begins to seep through the smoke vent, you stir from a deep, peaceful sleep. The longhouse remains quiet, a comforting cocoon against the lingering cold of the night. The air is crisp, carrying the familiar, reassuring scent of wood smoke and the subtle, earthy aroma of the longhouse itself, you feel wonderfully refreshed, the deep rest having settled your mind and body. You become aware of the first stirrings of life, a soft cough, a gentle shift of straw, the quiet creak of timbers as someone begins to wake. The rhythmic breathing of the other occupants continues, a low, soothing hum that provides a constant backdrop to your awakening. This sense of shared presence, even in silence, is deeply comforting, a stark contrast to the often isolated nature of modern mornings. There's always a companion, always a shared warmth. You probably wouldn't even need an alarm clock, just the collective groan of the household waking up. You observe the earliest risers, moving with a quiet purpose. A woman makes her way to the central hearth, gently stirring the ashes to reveal the glowing embers. A small puff of smoke rises, carrying the promise of warmth and light. This daily ritual of rekindling the fire is fundamental, a gentle reminder of the constant need for vigilance and resourcefulness. It's a slow, deliberate process, performed with an almost meditative focus. Historians still argue about the precise morning routines and social interactions within Viking longhouses, while early mornings were likely dedicated to practical tasks. The balance between quiet individual preparation and communal activity might have varied by household. It's like trying to figure out if your ancestors were morning people or night owls, just by observing a few archaeological remains. You recall a humorous anecdote about their practicality. It's believed that some Vikings would even use the residual heat from the banked fire to warm stones overnight, which they would then place in their beds for extra warmth. Imagine cuddling up with a hot rock. Now that's dedication to comfort. The aroma of brewing herbal tea or a thin, warming broth begins to waft through the longhouse, mingling with the wood smoke. Breakfast, while simple, is designed to be nourishing, providing the energy needed for the day's tasks, whatever they may be. It's a quick, efficient start, dictated by the available light and the pressing need for work. You see a young man meticulously cleaning and preparing his hunting tools, a bowstring being checked for fraying, arrows being inspected for straightness. Even though the weather keeps them indoors, preparation for when the snow clears is constant. Their lives are interwoven with the cycles of hunting, fishing, and farming, and every opportunity to ensure their tools are ready is seized. This foresight, this constant preparedness, is a hallmark of their survival skills. The longhouse itself feels alive, slowly awakening with its inhabitants. The ancient timbers, which have sheltered countless generations, seem to hum with a renewed energy. You can almost feel the echoes of past lives, the shared joys and sorrows, the countless moments lived within these very walls. It creates a powerful connection to the continuum of human existence, a sense of belonging to a long and unbroken chain. You hear the faint, rhythmic thud of wood against wood as someone begins to work on a new project, perhaps shaping a new bowl or repairing a worn piece of furniture. Woodworking, a vital skill, fills the quiet morning with the sounds of creation. The simple, repetitive actions are soothing, a testament to the beauty of manual labor and the satisfaction of craftsmanship. The light outside is still soft, diffused by the lingering snow, but a sense of purpose begins to fill the longhouse. The quiet conversations start, plans for the day are murmured, and the various tasks of communal life slowly begin to unfold. You appreciate the slow, unhurried pace, a contrast to the often frantic rush of modern mornings. Everything here is done with deliberate care, with an awareness of its impact on the collective. Your eyelids feel heavy once more, drawn down by the profound peace of the moment. The soft sounds of the awakening longhouse, the gentle breathing, the crackle of the fire, the hushed conversations all blend into a perfect, soothing melody. You drift serene and content, enveloped in the quiet strength of the Viking world, ready to surrender to a deep and dreamless sleep. The longhouse, with its enduring warmth and subtle rhythms, cradles you gently as you slumber. 9. The longhouse is bathed in the gentle, diffused light of a snow-covered day, a soft, ethereal glow that seems to mute all colors. The air is still and cool, yet comfortable, carrying the faint, clean scent of wood smoke and the subtle aroma of warm wool. You feel wonderfully refreshed, deeply rested by the quiet solitude within the communal space. The longhouse hums with a gentle, purposeful energy, as the daily rhythms of life continue uninterrupted by the external world. You observe a fascinating scene unfolding by the central hearth. A group of older men and women are gathered, meticulously mending and preparing fishing nets for the inevitable thaw. Their hands, gnarled with age and work, move with incredible dexterity, tying intricate knots, reinforcing weak points, and ensuring every mesh is perfect. The rhythmic snip of thread and the soft murmur of their conversations create a soothing backdrop. This isn't just a chore. It's an act of profound foresight, a vital preparation for the future sustenance of the entire community. It's like preparing for the biggest fishing competition of your life, but the prize is simply not starving. You also notice the sheer volume of nets they are working on. Fishing was a cornerstone of their diet, providing essential protein, especially during the long, lean winters. A well-maintained and extensive set of nets was crucial for a successful harvest from the rivers and seas. It highlights the immense value placed on every tool, every item that contributed to their survival. Historians still argue about the precise types of fishing techniques and tools used across different Viking regions. While nets and lines were common, the design of fish traps and the types of bait varied significantly, reflecting local conditions and available resources. It's like trying to figure out the perfect fishing lure for every single lake in the world without any prior knowledge. You recall a quirky tidbit about Viking fishing. Some sagas mention the use of trained otters or even cormorants to assist in fishing, showcasing an ingenious and often symbiotic relationship with nature. Imagine having a furry little fishing buddy who literally brings the catch to you. The sounds in the longhouse are a calming blend of quiet industry. The soft snip-snip of the mending thread, the gentle murmur of conversations, the distant creak of timbers. Children, now fully awake and fed, are engaged in educational play nearby. You see a girl learning to identify different types of wood, her small fingers tracing the grain, understanding its properties. A boy is being shown how to tie complex ship knots, his brow furrowed in concentration. Learning here is hands-on, directly relevant to their future roles in the community, building essential life skills from a young age. You find yourself drawn to the warmth of the central hearth, where the fire burns steadily, casting a comforting glow. The aroma of simmering food is stronger now, promising a hearty midday meal. The air feels clean and fresh, despite the many occupants, likely due to the continuous airflow through the smoke vent. There's a palpable sense of shared purpose, a collective focus on the tasks that sustain them, a powerful current of resilience flowing through the longhouse. You see a group of men gathered, not around weapons or maps, but around a small, beautifully carved wooden board. They are engrossed in a game, perhaps a strategy game like Nefertoffel, or a game of chance. Even with the serious tasks of survival, there is always room for leisure, for intellectual engagement, and for friendly competition. These games provided mental stimulation and entertainment, crucial for morale during long periods of confinement. A little bit of healthy competition kept their minds sharp, even when their bodies were rested. The light outside might be dull and silver from the lingering snow, but inside the longhouse, there's a vibrant, quiet energy. It's a testament to the fact that even when confined by the elements, their lives were full of purpose, creativity, and intellectual engagement. This wasn't just a shelter, it was a workshop, a school, a meeting hall, and a home, truly the heart of their world. As the day progresses, The light outside begins its slow retreat, signaling the approach of evening. The intense focus on individual crafts might soften, giving way to more communal activities. You might hear the beginning of a saga, or the quiet strumming of a lyre, as the longhouse transitions into its evening rituals, a comforting winding down as the communal warmth deepens. You lean back against a sturdy wooden pillar, feeling the ancient timber hum with the energy of human endeavor. The sounds of the longhouse, now a gentle blend of meticulous crafting and soft communal chatter, lull you into a state of profound contentment. Your eyelids feel heavy, a gentle weight drawing them down. The images of diligent craftsmanship, strategic thinking, and enduring resilience fill your mind as you drift deeper into a peaceful and dreamless slumber. The Viking world, with its steady rhythms and quiet strength, cradles you gently as you sleep. Zero, the longhouse, is now fully enveloped in the profound quiet of a snow-bound night. The light from the hearth is reduced to a deep, comforting glow, casting long, shifting shadows across the sleeping forms. You are completely at peace, deeply rested and utterly secure within the protective embrace of this ancient home. The air is cool, yet comfortable, carrying the faint, lingering scent of wood smoke, warm furs, and the earthy aroma of the longhouse itself. You are acutely aware of the rhythmic breathing of many individuals, a soft, continuous hum that provides the ultimate lullaby. This collective presence, even in silence, is deeply comforting, a stark contrast to the often isolated nature of modern nights. Here, you are never truly alone. The shared warmth and the familiar sounds create an unbroken sense of community and safety. It's like a perpetually warm, communal hug. You observe the profound stillness that has settled over the longhouse. The earlier sounds of work and conversation have faded, replaced by the hushed quiet of slumber. Only the soft crackle of the embers and the occasional faint creak of the ancient timbers break the silence. This deep quiet is almost sacred, allowing for complete rest and recovery from the day's demands. Historians still argue about the spiritual beliefs and practices that might have influenced daily life in Viking longhouses. While Norse mythology was prevalent, the specifics of household rituals and personal piety are often debated, leaving much to interpretation. It's like trying to understand someone's personal philosophy just by observing how they organize their kitchen. You recall a quirky tidbit about Viking customs. It's believed that some families would leave out offerings of food or drink for the household spirits, the vititer, ensuring their protection and good fortune. Imagine leaving a tiny bowl of porridge out for a mischievous gnome, just to keep the peace. The air is thick with the primal sense of human presence, wood smoke, and the subtle sweetness of fermenting grains. It's a scent of survival, of enduring life in a challenging world, and of a deep connection to the natural resources that sustain them. You feel utterly safe, nestled within the collective warmth of the longhouse, protected from the biting cold and the vast, silent, snow-covered wilderness that stretches beyond its sturdy walls. You drift through the sleeping longhouse, a silent observer of the peaceful forms. Each person, wrapped in their layers of fur and wool, seems utterly at rest, their faces softened by slumber. Even the most formidable warriors appear vulnerable in the depths of night, their burdens temporarily shed. It's a powerful reminder of the universal human need for rest and security, transcending the centuries and the vastly different lives. The faint, deep glow from the banked fire pulses gently, a tiny, enduring beacon of warmth and life in the deep darkness. It's a testament to their foresight and resourcefulness, ensuring that the embers remain alive, ready to be coaxed back into a roaring flame at dawn. This careful preservation of fire highlights its profound importance. It was not just warmth, but survival itself, the very heart of their existence. The silence is profound, broken only by the softest of sounds, emphasizing the shared stillness of the night. This is a time for deep rest, for the body and mind to recover from the demands of a hard physical life. You reflect on the resilience of these people, how they crafted lives of purpose and meaning within the constraints of their environment. They built homes that defied the harsh climate, cultivated skills that ensured their survival, and fostered a sense of community that provided unwavering solace and support. Your eyelids begin to feel incredibly heavy, a gentle weight pulling them down. The profound quiet of the snow-bound longhouse, punctuated by the soft, rhythmic sounds of sleeping life, is the ultimate lullaby. You feel completely relaxed, your mind emptying of all worries. The images of warmth, communal safety, and enduring strength fill your thoughts as you surrender to the comforting embrace of the ancient night. You drift deeper and deeper, carried by the quiet rhythms of the Viking world, into a peaceful, dreamless sleep. Let the echoes of their longhouse life guide your dreams until morning.